Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana and today we are starting a new series where I'm going to be interviewing different entrepreneurs. So for our first guest we have Sofia from Digital Sofia, and we're just going to be talking about her leaving her 9 to 5, about starting Amazon FBA and becoming a full-time blogger and YouTuber. We're also going to dive into some marketing tips, so stay tuned for that. Also, don't forget to check out her channel where we also did a video where she interviewed me and we talked about my whole journey starting entrepreneurship, leaving the 9 to 5, and starting my clothing brand. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. So welcome, Sofia. It's so great to see you again. Thank you so much for coming onto my channel. I'm so excited to just kind of dive in a little deeper to hear your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Tatiana. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and when you started?
For me, it all started maybe around 2 years ago. That's when I really started to looking for ways to escape the 9 to 5, essentially. I don't know, growing up, I really thought I was going to be free once I was very good in school. I got a good job and I could support myself. That was like what being free for me was like. So I did my bachelor's and I did my master's in business administration. And for me, like, I don't know, I feel like I always equated like being in business and like being like having a business education. I could be like the boss CEO. I don't know, like I always thought that would put me in a good place. So when we talked yesterday about you feeling the same about a tech job, I felt that was very interesting because we equate the specific jobs or specific opportunities to these types of things that we want. And yeah, after concluding my studies, I got a job abroad and I started my career. So I moved from Portugal, where I did most of my studies, to Germany, where I started my career in online marketing. And at first it was all good, but then I started to get back to that old feeling of longing for something else. And I really wanted to break free again. And I really started to feel like I needed to live life in my own terms. So I don't know, like no more of this feeling of being in the office and looking out the window, feeling trapped. That led me to creating a whole lot of projects, honestly, and YouTube came first. Very soon I realized that YouTube, I mean, just like everything else, but YouTube was not going to be the thing that was maybe going to give me that freedom that I wanted, like super fast. So it was more of a very long-term game. And then e-commerce came, so I started with Amazon FBA, and more recently, it's still a very baby project, but I started with a blog. So I monetize on traffic and also on affiliate links. So far, these were my side projects, and they did quite good for the amount of time that I was able to devote to them because they were all side projects. I still work full time till next week. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to taking them full time in 2021.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're doing a lot of things, so I'm sure you're super busy, but if I did catch it correctly, you said you're doing Amazon FBA. So can you elaborate a bit more on what that is? Because I know, myself included, just like a few months ago, I had absolutely no idea what that was, what it stood for, what any of it meant.
Amazon FBA is the format of e-commerce, or the method that I used in order to do e-commerce. So I sell on the Amazon website. I do FBA, so fulfilled by Amazon. Of course, they charge a good fee for that, but all I need to do is list my products on their website, make sure that my goods are on their warehouse, and then they take care of fulfilling and also customer service. So it's really good and passive in a way.
Yeah, no, for sure. It sounds like a really solid system that they have in place and a great way to get started in e-commerce as well. So tell us, how did you even get introduced to the idea?
Oh my God. So if I look back to those times, I feel like I was just really getting immersed in all of this content, just like you did, like going through YouTube, listening to podcasts, just really looking for ways, like what can I do to make my life a little bit different. So I specifically remember the first time I heard about it was on a podcast called The Side Hustle Show. And I mean, I'm sure you can understand why I've liked that podcast. It was just a bunch of ideas, like of different things you can do as side hustle. And of course it was bringing on guests, people that were doing these as side hustles and then these turned into big businesses. So I really like that. But yeah, I was just looking for things that I could do besides YouTube to make an income and change my life.
No, that's awesome to hear. So now you've done this for about a year already, right?
It's over a year already. And since everything started, I would say maybe 2 years already.
See, that's amazing because you stuck with it as well, and you've seen some kind of success. If I'm correct, you have also not taken any courses to actually learn how to do that. So what was the hardest obstacle to overcome to even get to the point that you are at now?
Yeah, so you're right. I didn't. I did everything by consuming a lot of free content, a lot of free resources, and not because I didn't want to pay for courses. I spent a lot of money on courses already and coaching to start some of my other projects. So it's not because of that, but because there was just so much information out there, and there's always things that I could consume with my limited amount of time that I had. That if I would start today, I would definitely start by taking a course. And by taking that time to really pause, take the course, and only then take massive action. Most difficult part to answer your question was that I felt like my knowledge was lacking in a lot of areas in general, because like I said, I was only just going for that next piece of knowledge that I needed. And specifically also a lot of the free resources that I was finding were from the US, which works in a lot of ways very differently from Europe. But yeah, it's very challenging to bootstrap everything and just, yeah, I don't know. I think definitely getting help, it's a whole nother ball game.
No, I totally understand that. That was something I debated a lot too, because I tried getting into Amazon FBA and like I still want to. It's just it wasn't the right time. But I know that it was just a lot of information, and I was debating, do I buy a course or do I not? And ultimately, I decided to buy a course just because I thought it would expedite the process, which is kind of what I'm getting from you too.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's so much information, and you really can, if you want, you can bootstrap it, but it's so confusing. And then you get also different pieces of information, and maybe they are both valid, but at that point you don't know, and you should just be told what to do, and then you do it, and then with more experience you can, then discern different things. But definitely, you did good, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad you overcame that obstacle. And talking about confusion, I know that one of the most difficult parts for me, or at least the most stressful part, was just dealing with all the legal stuff, like setting up your business entity, taxes, which I know we can't talk too much about, or like even getting your account deactivated. I know that's a common thing for Amazon people, getting it trademarked. So how did you deal with all that legal stuff? I know it's different because you're out in Europe, but I feel like the general baseline is pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's one of the most confusing things, because there is a right way to do it, and as normal people that are not trained in legal topics, then it's really, really confusing. And I get so many emails, comments, and they're all about questions about this legal stuff. So I think we are not alone, definitely, on this topic. It's really confusing. And I did everything myself at first, and it is challenging by its own. But then, I don't know how I did this. I need to pat myself on the back here, because
Yeah, for
it's not
sure.
only challenging, like when you know like the language, but I'm living in Germany and I don't really speak German, not on that level at least. So I was researching things in German, and actually maybe something that I can leave here in case someone debates with the same struggle. Google Translate is a very big friend. So specifically, what I did, I have a question, right? I go to Google Translate, I write it in English, it translates to German. I paste the German translation on Google. It gives me the results in Germany, because I'm in Germany. And then I just use the automatic add-on of Google Translate to Chrome. So then I just translate it to English. So then I'm seeing the results in English. And that really worked for me. I was able to get almost everything like that. I mean, the basics, of course, all of the basic information that I needed like that, I was able to get. So, however, after about 1 year of being in business, then I needed to get a tax lawyer to take care of my tax declarations, and also to start asking more serious questions, like things start to get a bit bigger and you really start to need help. Again, I would say to anyone, do get help earlier on. And I did get 1 hour with an expert before I started. So I just asked my big questions. But apart from that, I bootstrap. And about trademarks, it's a big deal. And I don't know if the way I did it is the best way. I checked if the brand name that I chose and the logo that I got designed was registered, or something very similar to it was registered. Since it was not, I went ahead and produced it, even without registering it right away. And I still think that was a good strategy, because I had no clue if that would actually work. Why would I spend my money on registering something that maybe would sell 2 units, or maybe I would not be able to be profitable? So I don't know if that's the best way. But if we're testing things out, like, I feel like it's a good strategy and a good way to go about it. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to make it happen. I never did that before back then. So yeah, messy action, just got it done. And about the accounts, I think that's also very common. And Amazon wanted so many documents when I first started. And my account was also suspended for a little while. And it's a bit stressful because then you have products coming in and you don't know what to do with them. I just didn't know it was that serious for them. But I feel like if you register as a professional seller, they will always ask you your company's documents before you can sell. But yeah, I think it's very normal. Everybody, it happens to everyone. It's so stressful.
Yeah, that's the part that frightened me the most, and I think that's the part where I actually kind of stopped. But I need to get back onto it. So I wanted to ask you, how long did it take before your account was reactivated again?
So it's a bit hard for me to recall, but I do know that I needed to get some documents that I still didn't have. So it was a little bit, maybe a couple of weeks. I think it was not too much longer. And then once I sent everything over, they were still reviewing it for a few more days. So that was very stressful. I remember we went back and forth several times. So it was not easy. Like, they was asking me for something that I didn't have and that I thought I already gave them. And I had nothing else to give. And they just were not accepting. And then the problem with Amazon, and this is like a very very real criticism that I have towards them, is that a lot of times, I know they're real people, but it really feels like you're talking to machines because they just copy paste the help page. They're not really helpful. So you just need to stay calm, give it what they want, and if you're not being able to find what they want, just continue with the process and know that it will happen. It will at some point. They also want you to have an account unblocked so that they can make money off of you.
Right. So do you actually know what was that thing that was holding you back? Like, what was the one thing that they needed that, like, you couldn't provide them with, like, at the very end?
For me, it was what they called, so again, I think for me it's a very specific case because there's also the language barrier. They wanted a company registration form, but I had already given it to them, but they wanted something else. So in the end, what I did was I scanned all of the papers that I was given when I registered the company, when I registered with the finance department, everything, and I just uploaded it in that little thing. And I was like, it has to be there. So at some point, that's exactly how I solved it. I also had actually the same experience very recently because I bought the brand from a friend of a friend, and it came with his Amazon seller account. And again, the account was blocked again because I started changing the name. So I needed to change the entity name from his name to our name and etc. They blocked it again, and then I was again so stressed because if you're already selling, like, you have money there, your balance is stuck there, your money is there. So then I was like, again, so stressed, I cannot talk to these guys. And in the end, what I did was, I mean, this is also, again, a specific case, but I sent everything, and I sent also invoices that prove that I actually paid this guy to get his stuff. So that's worked very fast. So if you have proof, if you have any paper, just send it their way and they should be able to help you.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful advice because, like, I know even in the Facebook groups that I'm at, like, you constantly see people stressing out over that. And from what I've learned, it's a lot about making sure that, like, your name, your address is written exactly as it is on your documents to the T, like, don't abbreviate, and then, sending in your whole document. So not just the piece that they're looking for, but sending the whole document. So if they give you 2 pages, and even if the 2-page, just like the second page just has a barcode, send it all. And now I want to kind of go into your first product. You don't have to reveal what that is. I know a lot of people like to keep that private, but I think it'd be helpful for people to know at least, like, what price range you were selling at, like what price range of a product were you even looking at?
The price when I launched, it was at around $12. And now, after having a lot of reviews and, like, it's there for over a year now, I sell it at around $15, and that's as high as I want to go. And it is a little bit, for me, it's a little bit below what the perfect Amazon product is, like, in terms of price point, but it is more expensive than the competition. Because it is a little bit, we did a little bit of a twist to it. So that's already a premium product. And yeah, for that, it's fine. Yeah.
So you kind of touched on this just now when you talked about it, but Did you end up changing the product at all as far as the design goes, beyond just throwing like your logo, your brand name on there?
Yes, we made the basic product way better looking, way cooler. And there is also like a meaning behind the changes that we make that appeals to a specific community. So I'll just like give some tips here because I feel like it may be helpful if someone is watching and they are thinking like, how can I make my product unique? So for example, in this specific case, I feel like it was very successful because the changes we made have a meaning that appeals to a specific community in this case, and it's also much better quality than the others, from the listing to the pictures, the packaging. The actual product is much better than the others, so that's why it's priced higher than the competition and it's still selling because it's really a much better product. And I feel like sometimes it's not just about functional value that you can add with the changes that you are doing in your product, but also intangible value. So it may be a feeling, it may be, I don't know, something, yeah, that creates community or that people feel uh, pulled towards. So there's a lot of ways to create this extra value that people are like, they will choose you over the others, essentially.
And was that difficult to communicate that to your manufacturer or your supplier? Like, did it happen all at once, or was it more of a gradual thing that you slowly started changing things?
Interesting. That's a very good question. So actually, the way I did it, I got a designer to, so really bootstrapping. So I got the sample, generic sample, and then I took pictures of it, and then I sent it to a designer. I hired him through Upwork, and I told them, I want you to do these changes. I want you to add my logo, of course, in this place. And yeah, then essentially I sent it to my manufacturer. And I just thought like a picture is better than 1,000 words, right? So I sent a picture and then I still explained it. I still like sent him like different um, images to like explain the concept further, basically from other sources. And then you could see, okay, that's the concept and this is what it would actually look like once it was implemented on this specific product. So yeah, it was really easy. They sent me the personalized sample just a few days later and it was perfect. So production,
Nice.
that was really.
So it happened all up front then. You made the changes all in the beginning before you started selling.
Yes, I did. In this case, I did.
Yeah, I love that. That's super useful information for myself included. So that's awesome. So looking back on your product now, how do you feel that it performed overall?
I feel like it was good. I feel like, yeah, I also touched on this on one of my videos. Like, I feel like when you go into it and you've just consumed online content, maybe you feel like it will change your life overnight, and that, yeah, it will just make you rich and change like everything. Obviously, it didn't, and this particular first product is not a big product. I'm just very happy that it sells consistently. It allowed me to also get my money back so I could continue on my journey. So yeah, overall very good.
No, and I think that's a very important thing to know is that for a lot of us, our first product is not going to be like a home run. It's just about taking action. And if it is a home run, then that's just a plus. So I think the fact that you even took action and got started, that's what's so important about the first product. And so with that being said, a lot of people are overwhelmed when they're choosing that first product. So how did you know that this was the right one to start with?
Ooh, I really didn't. I think looking back, I think I was a little bit out of my mind, honestly, because I was so scared, but I was also like so decisive, you know. I had some data to back my decision up, so I used a product research tool from Helium 10 that I still promote today, and that what it gave me was like basically it showed me that the competition was selling and they were making money, and their product was really not as good as mine was, at least in my eyes. So I just went for it. So I feel like having that extra layer of data backing me up and really showing me like these guys are selling. So if I put it here, even if I get, I don't know, 20% of what they are making, over time, I will still recover my investment. So yeah, that's helped me. But I was really out of my mind because I was really brave. It's really like the first time you spend, I don't know, a couple $1,000s on something so out of, I don't know, like, you know, just buy, I don't know, 500 units of like the same thing. It's so crazy. So yeah, crazy.
So I feel like that kind of goes along the same lines with this next question, just because it is a very hefty investment. So you said, like, you talked about choosing the right product and everything, and you talked about the data, which is super important, but then how did you kind of console yourself with knowing how much money you were going to be investing in this to actually do it? Because I feel like the first obstacle people face is legal fees, then the second one is choosing the product, and then the third one is, wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. First, I kiss the money goodbye. Like, if I don't see this money again, I'm fine with it. Like, I saved
Mm.
enough. I don't need the money. And then one day at a time, one step at a time was really my motto in these times. Like, I was willing to give the money even if I all I would get back was the experience. So that kind of gave me some peace and some more tranquility. And then also believing, discarding the negative thoughts. Like, I would honestly, that's this time I did not share my projects, my ideas, my goals with
Mm.
anyone, because I did not need people questioning me, because sometimes maybe I was questioning myself. So I do not need
Right.
that extra layer of questioning, because if you then would question me, maybe I would believe you and just get so scared. So I wasn't really sharing with anyone, just because I couldn't deal with it at the time. And yeah,
Mhm.
just keeping my eyes on the prize. And
No, I think what you did there was just you created a healthy environment for yourself. You got rid of the negativity and the doubt, and you're like, if anything, I'm getting an awesome experience out of this, regardless of the money. So I think that's a really fantastic way to look at it. And I know we talked a little bit on about this on your video and how much you love product development and how important that is. Can you kind of walk us through how you normally go about choosing your products? I know you talked about helium 10. Like, what kind of things are you considering?
it doesn't need to be anything crazy. So I feel like when people start product research, or though they go to like Helium 10 or any other product research tool and they start looking for a product, they just feel like it needs to be something crazy or something like very out of the ordinary. And I feel like it's very maybe important to know, and also a bit of, may give you a little bit of peace to people, is that it can be something super simple, something super common, uh, but it is important for you to think of a way to change it in a way that makes you stand
Mm.
out. And also very important is not having 15 other competitors. So your competition is not there or is very weak, you will be successful. So I sometimes think that smaller products that people would
Mm.
almost laugh at you if you would tell them what you're selling are better, because usually no one thinks they are a good opportunity.
It's funny that you brought up the whole boring product thing, because that was one statement that really stuck with me. And it was the whole idea that if you're not embarrassed to tell your friends what you're selling, then you're selling the wrong thing. And I thought that was so
Yes,
funny.
and it happens to me.
No judgment. If it works, it works, and that's all that matters. So I know you've done a couple products now, and which is fantastic. But I do want to touch a little bit on the negative side of things. We are human, and sometimes things don't go our way. So I know in one of your videos you did talk a little bit more about how one of your products actually kind of flopped, and I'm sure that's not an easy thing for a seller to maneuver. So how did you deal with like the negative reviews, the negative feedback, and just kind of overcoming it and knowing that that didn't mean it was the end of your business?
I think I don't feel much emotional attachment to my products in general. I don't know if it is anymore, or maybe I never did. I don't know. For me, it's really just business, and I was very happy, like on a rational level, to really get the feedback, and also that it happened, because I could see that it taught me so much more than maybe my first product that was okay, and I just put it there, did some ads, it sold. I spent €1 on ads, I sold 10. So it was kind of easy to do at that level. So I feel like it's very important to have a healthy attitude towards this. It's business. I think it's good to create that separation. How can I use this experience to continue forward and make the business even better?
I feel like it's also a really great mentality to have, even when you're just putting yourself out there, like on social media and just being present publicly. You're going to get negative feedback, but if you just kind of separate the two, it's a little different. And then as far as just overcoming that with your business, I guess at some point it just kind of becomes about focusing on just selling out of stock and then just moving forward and abandoning that product.
Exactly. So that's exactly the thing. I lowered the price. Okay, this is not going to be a success. People are not really liking it. Definitely not enjoying it for the price point that I'm selling at. So lowering the price, I was out of stock, and I just, okay, I'm done with it. I'm not restocking it anymore. What's next?
So in that way, you're not even losing as much money. It's not like you lost that entire investment. You still made some of it back.
Exactly. And at some point, I really thought I was going to lose the whole investment because it was not selling, or it was selling and people were returning it. And then I just figured out, no, before I even consider discarding this inventory, I will just lower the price. And then I still made some of the money back.
Yeah. And that's on being a savvy business owner.
I try. Still have so much to learn. Oh my God.
You're already teaching us a lot. A year of experience is more than none. So kudos to you. I kind of want to switch gears now because I know you did talk about your blog, and I know there are a lot of people who are bloggers and want to kind of get that under their belt. So tell us more about this. Like, what topics are you writing on, and just how did this start for you?
I think content creation is my first love. So maybe that's also why I am able to detach myself from what I'm selling on my e-commerce a little bit easier. So the blog is just like, I really always wanted the feeling to have my own outlet. So social media, of course, it's yours, but it's not fully owned by you. So with the blog and my website, I really wanted to have something that is fully owned by me. Yeah, and I started writing about the same topics, honestly, just escaping the 9 to 5, all of the ways and things that I'm learning in my journey. So I talk a little bit about e-commerce there, even if it's not at all related with my e-commerce business. Like, it's a totally different, like, I run it under different entities, and I do not talk about my products, or I do not promote my products there. But yeah, I just talk about YouTube, the YouTube business kind of thing, and starting Amazon FBA, and then next year I hope to add a lot more into that, and also how to blog and make money blogging. Yeah, and I felt like I could really do it because my job was to monetize web pages.
Yeah, that must have helped a lot. And I've seen a lot of people like combine their blog with their YouTube, with affiliate marketing, and
Exactly.
just the whole trifecta is super, super
Exactly. I mean, I
helpful.
already have to create the content. I have to think already of an outline. I can easily transform an outline into a blog post. I really like to write. So yeah, why not?
So now we can touch on the whole like marketing aspect of it, because it is part of your 9 to 5 job, which is fantastic because you have a total leg up on us there. So how much did marketing play a role in both of your pursuits of like YouTube and blogging, and just driving traffic to your site?
For my blog, the only way I drive traffic, or the only ways I drive traffic, is through Pinterest. So yesterday on our call, in your video, in my video, we talked about Pinterest, and it's really much easier to get traffic from Pinterest somehow. So it's much easier to, like, I really think, like, over Instagram or any other thing, I think Pinterest is a really great bet for businesses, and also from Google, but organic. So I do not do ads yet for my blog.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about the nitty-gritty side of things, because I want to talk about ads. I know you've probably run a couple ad campaigns, whether it's for yourself or for some other company. Do you have any tricks that you can share with us as to how to run a successful ad campaign?
Yeah, I feel like running ads successfully is really all about A/B testing, and don't be afraid to test and assume that it will take a while. Even like on a with very big budgets that we had, like, it takes us months to figure out what really works and how to convert someone for like cheaper than what they make us as like in return. So it's really normal, and don't be afraid to spend money, and you should kind of have a budget for that, or like kiss the money goodbye until like you really figure it out. I think that's a more realistic way to assume that things will, like, how it will all turn out.
So then, for someone like you and me, for instance, if we were to do an ad campaign for, I don't know, whether it's our YouTube channel, our blog, our product for Amazon FBA, something along those lines, how long would you have that ad campaign last?
So it really depends on what's the goal. I think if the goal is to, so for branding campaigns tend to be a little bit longer, but for branding campaigns, you're not actually trying to see an immediate result from it.
Mm.
So I don't know, branding, maybe you want just people to go to your website, or you want people to be exposed to your message, so it's completely different. If you're trying to, like, for example, run ads for your store, for your products, then I would say maybe split it in chunks of 2 weeks, maybe a week even. I'm thinking like maybe on our like scale, I would even say a week, not shorter than that. And then after a week, you can like assess what you did, what worked, what didn't. Of course, like if things are going crazy in the middle of the week, you can pause things and
Mm.
like pivot.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for telling us that. I've also heard just like a lot of using like long tail keywords and
Yes.
really focusing on your audience and not just letting the system choose it for you,
Long tail
essentially.
keywords is so important. Like if you're doing PPC specifically, especially if you have a very specific intent. So for PPC, Google search, anything is really about intent. And so, for example, if you have a coaching business, um, you will not spend your money on coaching services as a keyword, because people will have, I mean, if you're a small business at least and you have limited money, people can want so many different things when they write coaching services. You will want to spend money on the keywords that are exactly what you want them to do. So for example, I don't know, maybe you want to only
Like leave your
people.
9 to 5.
Exactly, so you are a coaching person that wants to help people leave the 9 to 5. You are maybe bid for someone who is writing help, or how do you leave your 9 to 5, or um, help leaving your 9 to 5, mindsets behind leaving your 9 to 5. So very specific services that you offer, not broad thing. I went to this client and he was a real estate agent. His ads were showing up for house. What is house? Like house, it's
Oh.
definitely not someone who wants to buy or sell a house. It can be someone who's just looking for a drawing of the house. It can be, I don't know, so many things. So that's a very good example of why you should be very specific if you have a small budget at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're not wasting as much money. So this is actually my favorite part of this video that I've been so excited to get into, and it's regarding your job. So you told us that this isn't your only job, and like fortunately for me, I've been able to focus on all of this full time, but not everyone is. So tell us about how you've been able to manage balancing your 9 to 5 with all of these other side hustles you're doing.
Oh my God. Okay. So I one thing that I do not say no to is sleep. I always prioritize sleep. But then I have to say no to a lot of other things, and I said no to a lot of parties. I really got used to people thinking I'm strange, honestly, like, because I never want to party, I never want to have fun. But for me, it's really like I want to take control of my own life and my own destiny, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important thing to me. And it really mattered more than a party. Also, I feel like prioritizing the needle moving activities, not getting lost in like busy
Mm.
work, only doing the things that really matter and that will take you to the next level. So that's really what I mean, like when I say like messy action and like one step at a time. So what do I need to learn today in order to make this happen next week? Today I maybe need to read about how to source products, and then tomorrow maybe there's one piece of that missing only, and then I need to know the next thing. So really prioritizing those needle moving activities, and just not do not get overwhelmed, just focusing on the next thing, not the whole road. I feel like that's really, really helped. And also being an introvert, because then I do not miss people a lot. I can be at home,
I
it's fine.
I feel that. That's a fantastic mindset to have, and actually something I've noticed in a lot of other entrepreneurs is just they're focused more on the long term, and their priorities are different. That doesn't mean that someone else's priorities are right or wrong. They're just different. And I think if you're really focused on building a business, that's kind of where your headspace needs to be at. So I'm glad you've been able to do it thus far, but things are about to change for you, which is so, so exciting. You are leaving your 9 to 5 and kind of starting to pursue this for like full time, which is awesome. Obviously something I kind of went through a little differently than you, but I want to know what were some of those factors that actually led you to wanting to leave your 9 to 5?
So actually a very massive existential crisis, honestly. I don't know, a quarter life crisis, something like that. It was really tough. I wasn't really happy at work for very long, and I changed positions several times, and I still wasn't excited about anything. And like, yeah, nothing really could compare to the feeling I got from my own projects. So that really honestly led me to feeling depressed a lot of the time in my life. This state of mind really also hurt then the way I showed up for my cool side project. So I just
Mm.
eventually I came to terms with the fact that I will not be happy professionally and in general now at the moment unless I take these crazy projects full time and at least give them a full shot, like a full chance of seeing the light of day properly. And once I quit, I actually realized that working for myself and chasing my creative urges was always my dream in life. So by simply giving this a shot, I really feel like I'm already living my dream, honestly. So nothing else can come from that. So
No, definitely. That's so wholesome. Did you have like a final push that kind of put you over the edge and you're like, now is the time, now I'm gonna do it?
yeah, actually, I my first role was very analytical, and we worked very hard over a month to create very complicated analysis of the monetization of some web pages. That's how I put it always. I think it's easier to understand. And after that month, we were in this meeting and we were presenting the results. And I just found myself noticing how little passion I felt for the whole thing, like how much this job didn't play with so many of my top and also my favorite strengths about myself. So, also like how sad and exhausted I was of the whole thing. So I really felt trapped in that moment. And I knew that I had to quit, and I knew it for a while. In that moment, I realized like these are not the strengths that I want to like use. I want to really focus on the things that make me happy. And that's where I knew like I cannot do it anymore, like for any longer.
Well, honestly, kudos to you for listening to yourself and taking action essentially. I'm super excited for your future and I'm here to support you as well. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who also aren't in that same space and are dependent on their job for financial gain and basically just to be able to live essentially. Um, but it's awesome that you had this opportunity and you can now take advantage of it. So, with that being said, a lot of people are very fearful to leave their job. And so, what were some of those fears that you had, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I feel like I really feel you on that, because one of the things that I hear the most when I'm telling people what I did recently is like, oh my God, you are so brave. And then I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
am. Damn, it was really hard. Like I was so afraid for months. I put it off for so long but I think like the biggest fears and thoughts that I kept having was like, how will I support myself? Like, how will I
Mm-hmm.
make money? I'm so used to having someone pay my salary. It's really scary to not have that to fall back on, I think. And that was the first layer of thoughts and fears that I had. And yeah, I was always raised to believe that you need to have a very good job in order to have a good life. I was always told like, I want to be rich. I always tell my dad, I would tell my dad, I want to be rich. And he would tell me, oh yeah, then you need to study very hard and then get a very good job. So that's really like inside me somehow. It's really like deep, deep grained. And after I overcame that, I feel like the fear started to be, how will I get myself to accomplish all of the things that I want to do? Like a little bit of overwhelm. And now, like, it will be all on my shoulders. Like, what will I do when I wake up in the morning? Like, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
one who decides to plan. But it's really an irrational fear because I know I got this. Like, I know it's fine, but yeah.
Yeah, you'll definitely figure it out. I think the excitement is what's going to motivate you to actually have a plan and continue going forward. So that's awesome. Like you said, that is a very big move, and I'm proud of you for doing that. So talk us a little bit about how like putting in that notice and actually leaving your job went. Like, how did your coworkers react? More importantly, how did your boss react? What was that day like?
I feel like maybe it was a little bit easier with the whole working remote situation. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more awkward to book that meeting because like I don't know, it's a bit awkward to do it over the computer. But I did not have to deal with coworkers and everything. So also in Germany we have 3 months notice. So actually I quit 4 months ago.
Oh
So
wow.
it's a long process. Things go slow here. So it was definitely hard, but at this point it wasn't personal. It's really about my well-being. And I just like I booked the meeting and I just told him I'm leaving, and that's it. I sent them the letter to HR and it's done. So it was actually easy. It just in my mind it was a mess.
Yeah, I think we ultimately think that people are going to be a lot ruder or unsupportive than they actually are. And really, it's the opposite. I think people in the workplace a lot of times understand that you're making a personal decision here and it's nothing against them or the company. And more often than not, they do actually end up supporting you. So it's awesome that you got to go through that and you had a positive experience, it sounds. So I
Yes,
think
yes.
the most important factor to cover here, though, is how do you actually feel about all of this?
Well, my last day is coming next week, and I'm so excited. I really can't wait for that first day that I wake up and I'm my own boss. So yeah,
It's gonna be exciting. You need to document it.
I do. I should vlog or something.
So I'm excited for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about like what's been the biggest transformation that you've seen in yourself over the past year? Because I know 2019 me is different than 2020 me.
Yes, oh my God, I really felt you when we talked about this on my video. It's like exactly like I'm such a different person completely. Over the last year, I invested more money in self development than I've ever done before. It's not about the money, but it's like I really put myself out there to develop myself. And I started therapy, and I believe I'm being able to overcome so many limiting beliefs and thought patterns from childhood that don't serve me anymore. And yeah, I'm working on it, but I also feel like I have way stronger boundaries now, and my goal is to be able to confidently say no to anything that is not a full body yes. So that's something that I really struggle with. I don't like to disappoint, and so I want to have my strong boundaries and to really be better in that. So I'm working on that, and I feel like I'm going in that direction. And I'm also way less afraid of doing things in general. I just did so many things outside of my comfort zone that I'm just much more confident, I think. And I also believe that things go my way, that trying and failing are part of the process, and everything happens for a reason, and also for my highest good. So I think that I can achieve my craziest dreams. And I feel like last year, Sophia, she was not sure about that. So
I absolutely love that confidence for you. I think it's amazing and it's great to see us grow, and I can only see you growing from here. So let's just wrap this up then, and if you have any advice that you want to share to people who want to start a successful e-commerce business or just kind of build an online presence and have no prior experience, do you have any advice to give there?
okay, so yeah, I would say three things. Especially if you're doing like different things on the side. So first, I would say to get very clear and very specific. So for example, with e-commerce, choose one product, focus only on the next step, and before you know, you'll be receiving your first shipment. And with online presence is maybe a bit different, like seems cliche, but I think that choosing a niche really helps growing faster. So yeah, and I feel like so very getting clear and specific, and then each day choose one, or each day or each week maybe choose one needle moving activity and complete it. Like, do not get lost in busy work or any of that. And finally, messy action. I really like it, and I feel like it really gets things moving. Like, better done than perfect definitely really helps.
That's super great advice. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on my channel. And thank you so much for letting me ask you all those like very detailed questions. Your response has been super great. So if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
So you can find me mainly on YouTube. That's where I'm at every week.
So what is your handle for YouTube?
Digital Sofia. Yeah, Digital Sofia everywhere. Digitalsofia.co, the website, and also on Instagram. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and take care.
Thank you so much, Tatiana, for having me. It was amazing. Yeah, we need to do this more often, more times.
Absolutely. Don't forget to check out the video we made on Sophia's channel where she actually interviewed me and we talk more about my story. As always, thank you so much for watching and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye!